Segui. Okay, we're about to go live in our live streaming services or service.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Earth is a nursery where the seed of the future stars and future universes and life of galaxies more or less comes to depend partially from the seeds from the, let's say, the tulips. The whole universe is not just one flower, just the tulips. There's some roses, some other flowers, the honeysuckles, and the rest we have on the earth. So there are other nurseries in the universe which create that seed of soul. Mitra is not the only citizens of the universe. Mitra is one of its, like when you live in a city, you don't fall in love with every woman on the street, you fall in love with one. And this is what Earth is, has been, and be. But the interesting point for us, which is intriguing if you have not understood, is going to hit you very hard if you understand. And then you have to understand what's the next. As we said, Earth is the nursery. It could be seed of a star, it could be seed of a galaxy, the soul of the man who lives this planet, or it could be a dust in the way we see cosmic dust in the galaxies and in solar systems, floating around till finding somewhere to become that star, that planet, or become part of it. But now, as a humans, you have a dilemma. Because we have not reached a part of the souls which left this planet billions of years ago, from the first souls which left this planet, they became a seed, some of them in the universe, and those seeds gathered enough energies as a speck of energy, beginning the seed of a, let's say, a star. Now they have created planetary system in them, which in essence comes from the soul of the man, or created things from this planet billions of years ago. Now, the technology of the man has reached to be able to travel with the speed of soul, not the speed of light. And one of you, a bunch of you, travel the span of the universe and land on one of the planets which was created from the soul of the man from this planet itself millions of years ago. There are a number of things that will come to be understood, and will be part of the space research in years to come, is to diagnose from the field of strength, from the behavior, from the psychosomatic of the solar system or a galaxy or a universe, if the seed was that from tulips or from Earth. And would the future mankind, now that has access to travel with the speed of the soul, will come to recognize when it lands on such a system, would the system, as it was created out of the planetary structure of Earth, would have hydrogen as its base? Would it carry water, because through the water it absorbed most of the energies of the universe with it? 90%, 95% of the weight of the man is water. So it gives us a new dimension in the space technology. The way that we thought we are the only planet in the universe and the only solar system with planetary system, and now in the past decade or so, the scientists are telling us every day they are finding new stars with planetary system, and the numbers are increasing rapidly. Would our scientists come to the point that now we found this planetary system, now we found this solar system, and in these solar systems we find maybe possibly life like Earth, or creation of the water which leads to creation of life? Did this star, did this solar system, did this galaxy came from the soul of the created things on this planet millions of years ago? And in a way, as it was created out of, will create out of itself the same characteristics. Then it comes for our scientists to assess, when we come to a solar system, when we come to a structure which now our scientists tell us has water in it, has conditions of life in it, the question mark for man is to answer, the seed of this star came from Earth. And would man be able to live a life near to life on Earth, on these systems? So can we find solar systems, structures which have similar life as Earth? Putting aside the psychological pattern aside, putting the coincidences that the energies can come together to create possibly life on, same as life on the Earth, is the soul of the solar system from Earth. Did one of us was so devoted, so servitude, does not matter if you're a dog or a cat or a man, that led to be and became the seed and replicated what was on Earth. When you buy tulips, you don't throw it away. When it finishes the cycle of life, you hold it, you look after it, and you plant it next season to give new flowers. So the life comes to this point. Now that the space technology is opening up, not with the rocket and what I call firework, but the knowledge and science of the creation, magnetic fields, plasmatic motion, gravitational field systems, and man is good in making tools to measure things and to be replicating it, then it comes. Would we find systems which have a life like Earth? And would we, in the future, with our knowledge, confirm and in a way, through the strength of the fields of the solar system of it, or whatever, the seed connection with Earth? In a way, then we see how the souls of this planet, this greenhouse, are fed and become that star, the galaxy, the solar system, or a speck of dust in galaxies. Those are the ones which in holy books they call them the hell. Nothing but just the dust. And is heaven that you become that seed that gives that flower of the galaxies and universes and new life? Then you understand why the correction had to be done on this planet to stop the killing, because now we see some problems in the universe where the nursery did not clean up the infectious disease of killing. And we come to sort it out. To you is 6,000 years from Moses and 2,000 years from Christ and the rest of it. But in fact, it's a few seconds, milliseconds, fraction of the milliseconds in the work of the universe. So what to you, thousands of years to get here, to us outside, is just walk in the park. Even though to you is very important. It's like looking at the ant colony and seeing there's something the ants cannot cross, or because of it they do funny things, and you correct it and the ants go on a straight path. So in a way, to you, it's just passing a few milliseconds life of an ant, but the ant is his life, and it could be that day of his life, the only day which lives. So now you understand how important it is to get things sorted in this greenhouse. Because this greenhouse, if it's wrong, now that the seeds of the creation of the other planetary star systems from the seeds which came from here are growing, we have to see to get rid of this infection. Otherwise, we'll have more problem in the future when those seeds, stars and planetary start creating life, and then the mayhem as we see, we come to clean up. But if you understood this, now it means we can go to the soul planet from the Earth. Then we find a lot of common denominators in living. we find a lot of common denominators in the soul of what we call the knowledge with the explanatory. We feel at home because it came from home.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 492nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, June 29th, 2023. This is a broadcast of the Ksw Foundation Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in these weekly series of workshops. And once again, we have the pleasure of having Mr. Mehran Kesh to deliver today's workshop. Today's workshop is a little later than usual due to conditions that are prevailing. And it'll be a shorter workshop than usual today as well. Mr. Kesh will explain, no doubt, and I think he's ready to go. Hello, Mr. Kesh.
Oh, good morning. Good day to you, usual. Whenever you listen to series of Knowledge Ksw Foundation, Spaceship Institute, we welcome you back. And we hope, again, we can manage to share some more knowledge in respect to our work and what we are trying to get across and what we develop and where and how we'll go through the gaining of the knowledge. In the last week, I opened the Pandora box, which a lot of you asked, why have you connected this to that? This has got 12 digits, that's got 9 digits, you're talking a million and that's a billion. And it's very interesting how knowledge seekers responds to numbers. We do things when you look at the teaching of last week. Why is it important? I used 9, or I used billion, and I used number 12, 10 to the power of 12. The reason for it is the speed of light is meter per second. So I cannot drop you in the middle of the wall a meter away or a meter high, a meter low and drop you on the ground. We calculate to millimeters. That's why we added the number to 12. And that's why I said use number 12. And in that process, we understand more and we come to our work in a very precise manner. Why we use the 13 billion life on this planet? The calculation of our scientists, they call it 13 billion years. So we have 365 days in this billion years, and we have 24 hours in it. And we, according to our calculation, we assuming that the Earth always maintain 1,600 and something kilometers per hour. It shows if our planet was moving on a straight line from the center of the universe, where it will be and how it will take shape. And where we'll find ourselves. When we add all these numbers into digits and whatever, and then we come out, we said 1,000 kilometers per hour, 1.6 thousand kilometers per hour. Again, we go with the kilometers with digits of meters and millimeters to be precise. We find out there's a big gap. They say the life does not depend on the speed. In a spherical shape, when you sit outside on the surface, you're a flatliner. You walk on the straight line in a way, but even though you come back to the circle, to the same point, we are measuring dimension as a meter length, as a straight line, two-dimensional more or less. But when it comes to the surface area, not the circumference, we are in the order of magnitude. We calculate the perimeter of the sphere and a circle on a what we call 2 times r, or it's a d by pi. And when we come to measure the surface area, we do r to the power of 2. It's an order of magnitude. When you look at a light is 3-dimensional, shines out. So you consider volume, not a flat surface. The same with the surface of the sphere. And you run into order of magnitude than multiplication of the length. When we say, let's say, 100 meter radius, when we do a diameter, it's 2 times 100 is 200. But when we calculate the surface area, it's 100 times 100, which is 10,000. It's a big difference. Then you consider magnetic field strength, not force, which is a linear line. And in that order, then you understand the whole of the calculation in a magnetic field transmutation creates a different dimension. But when we choose the central line, the age, not the distance of travel on the surface, as we call it, or the size of the circumference, then we find out the age of the universe is far, far, much, much bigger than what we call 13 billion. Reason for it is very simple. A plasma explodes from inside out and takes its shape. Secondly, our scientists, at the time when they calculated theoretically the circumference of the universe, they had this fantasy idea that is one universe and on its own and is a spherical in shape. In fact, it's not. We see that in the change shapes of our own galaxies and other galaxies' magnetic fields. It's not a hard surface, it's a plasmatic. It takes different shapes. And then when you put this in the order of the magnitude of carbon-14 and not carbon-12, because all our measurements are in a matter state, then you find out the whole ball game of the transmutation changes. In a way, when we calculate, truly in the future, our scientists will recalculate, there is no way that to what we understand, to what we can calculate, that the life of this universe is 13 billion. It is inconceivable to imagine the universe has lived such a short life, and it has covered itself, it has maintained its what we call integrity, and it has managed to keep life in 13.5 billion years. Even you consider the building of the intelligence, the brain of the man, the organs, which is ordered and structured, layers of everything else, and we are considering whether we are one of the latecomers, it'll take more than what we calculated and what we see, what we understand. It doesn't matter if you're a cat or a dog or a man. A structure has been set up. And what will be interesting, when we recalculate, understanding the position of the soul of the man and where the soul of the man will end up in or will become the seed of, then we'll find out the life of this universe is, in a way, if we go 13 billion light years by order of magnitude, a few digits up and down. So this is important for us in locating, positioning through the new understanding of the technology to be able to find, access, deliver the soul of a man to a given point. Your soul of your grandfather is not on the next galaxy. Most probably is right on the other side of the planet, trying to balance the universe, trying to balance on this side. So the digital calculation, the understanding of the size of the universe, and then once you understand this, understanding the size of the universe, then you understand the digits, the numbers which our scientists have calculated it, is totally wrong. In the future, we will deliver systems for calculation in a way. You want to go to such and such a place, you land in such and such a place. You will get a lot of opposition from the scientists or the people who spend a lot of their time explaining this happened to cosmos here, that happened to the cosmos there, because they have to protect those PhDs and certificates and whatever. But our scientists, the way nowadays we have laser beam and put it down the line and say, okay, moon is so far away from us and this is a gap with us. The new understanding of the matter state magnetic field and the plasma state magnetic field strength will open a knowledge and technology where we can literally, like the laser beams of today, measure truly the size of this universe, and through carbon decay 14 and others, bring in a more realistic data for the life of this universe. We will get a lot of opposition. We will get a lot of people who have to protect that degree. I was told it's 13.5 billion, and I stick to it because I've been told I read a book. And it's for us to carry on with our work and ignore this, but understand what I opened in the teaching of last week. Open your eyes to another step, another dimension. In reality, our universe is even larger than our scientists have ever could imagine. Much bigger than the numbers we mentioned last week teaching. They say so many billion light years. Then we come to understand. We have to, with the new technology of the plasma, create new set of data. That when we connect to a given position, we land in a given position, I'm not a few billion kilometers away. Oops, sorry. Made a small mistake in digit number zeros on the top and the bottom. And we will get this supposition from many, many scientists, and we have to become used to it. Today, I was in a meeting with one of our knowledge seekers, and we had an expert, supposedly one of the geniuses of what we call a structure, was brought in to give his verdict and regarding a part of the work of the foundation. And the minute he sat and he heard about how we nanocoat and how we use gases, it was, no, this is all wrong, this is all lies, it cannot be, cannot have these things, and he could not stop himself. 82-year-old man, as an expert, could not keep his mouth shut. Because what I said, if he understands, it means all his degrees have gone. All his PhDs are good for, as I said, something else. And the opposition and the strength of denial was so much that even he denied everything else which was physically in front of him. We will get, and we have seen a lot of these. So I put a seed of thoughts amongst you last week, and I asked you to start working to understand. Many of you are not good mathematicians, but you'll find out you can add up 2 and 2 together. And then go back and see what did these scientists who told us it's 13 billion, what did they assume from the bone of the cat? Or do we have actually a carbon dating from the center of the universe that they have found on Earth, and they can say a carbon dating? But does the carbon dating of the universe matches to the knowledge of the man today? So what the whole purpose of the teaching has been last week and this week is to open your eyes into understanding that if you're the last man standing, and in a physical system, please make sure you don't end up in the wrong place in the universe because you miscalculated it. There's one thing good. With the soul, you cannot go wrong. Traveling with the soul, because you create a given magnetic field strength through the wish and the structure of the emotion, you always end up in the right place. Going wrong is very, very seldom. And then it comes for us to understand the next step of knowledge. What man can do with this knowledge? What can you as knowledge seekers do having this accessibility to the knowledge dimensions of the universe, which some of you cannot even write the number of zeros in front of it. You got to count to 10 times if you got the zeros right. But when you go to the soul, automatically knows where you are. In a coming time, in a process of development of the space technology, as we said, we have 2 separate systems. You have a physical system, spacecraft, and you have the what we call magnetic field strength. Up to now, we taught you and we developed technologies for you that you could understand that creates gravity, creates magnetic field. And then we called it magnet position. But I think it's the right time to introduce what we call cosmic travels in a way of cosmic rays, in a way that you do not need to produce a gravity to be pulled to a destination, but you travel on the magnetic field lines of the universe. This is exactly what your soul does. These kind of travels, these kind of use of magnetic field motions, it's like rivers, it's like being on a belt, is one direction. So you can jump across the one going backwards. We are used to this. We know this, but we have ignored it. We know this in a very simple way. From the first days we went to school and they gave us a magnet and we throw some iron dust on it, we saw the magnetic lines. When we were given two magnets and we brought it together, we saw the two magnets coming together or pushing away through the field forces of these magnetic lines. So if man's knowledge extends to the next level, if man's knowledge comes to understand the reality and the work of the universe, you will find very soon that creating gravity, creating magnetic field, to be pulled and pushed in the direction where you want to go, become meaningless. The magnetic field, gravitational field, is for matter state, physical tangibility. When it comes to the travel with the soul of the man, within what we call plasmatic packaging, you cannot use a gravitational pull. You cannot adjust your brain. Now I increase the gravity to the moon and I reduce the gravity to the Mars and then I go there and there. In the world of the creation, in the world of the magnetic field travel, you get on the rivers of the universe magnetic field strength. And then through the position and conversion, this is how you reach the mother. You what we call field strength of the brain of the man creates that condition of travel. So when we start talking about transmutation, now we have to speak about what we call magnetic field flow lines, not magnetic or gravitational or magra position. The soul of the man. And when the man becomes expert to create lines of travel in the packages of the plasma, has to reassign, re-understand, re-educate himself to a new way of how, which rivers, which directions to flow in a way of a back, forward, up and down, and you where you want to be. Because in a way, all magnetic fields of the universe, in one way or another, due to this, the strength order of magnitude, all travel and end up where the emotion of the man finds satisfaction of the emotion. You will not stop till you see the mom. But because of the dimension of field strong order of magnitude is a few seconds. Not that you get lost in years and thousands of years in the universe. So, as now you understand why I introduced the concept of the size and the life of the universe and the size of this universe. These, in so many ways, in the coming time will become apparent. And in a very slow way, last week and the week before and this week, we start introducing it into magnetic field strength. Trouble. Now you understand. You're traveling inside the sphere, and now you're bound with the order of magnitude. You're not on the surface to be on a linear line. You might pop up on the surface, but in traveling due to the field strength interaction, you pop up from under somewhere else. It's much faster to travel within the field, within the structure, than to run around on top of it.
This brings you to a new understanding. This brings you to understand how and the way man will travel in the future. And how we connect to the other souls. Because the way we travel the span of universe through the emotion, we travel the emotion through the span of the what we call the soul of the man in interaction with other souls. It's not the reverse, it's amalgamation of the two. And so in the coming time, as we prepare you for the transmutation through your own soul, through the dimension of the packages of this energies created through the interaction of the fields of yourself, then you understand how you will shape, how you will create destiny for your soul and the soul of physicality and the rest of the caboodle you carry with yourself. Now you understand why we brought this subject, this topic last week, and continuation of it, but connecting to it in the life of the man in this teaching. At the moment, it looks a little bit patchy, but as you understand, step by step, you will see the picture will be complete. Then you don't need to walk in dimension. You think and you literally hover to the position you want. You don't need to carry things, because if you run on the parallel lines of the magnetic field, the field will carry it for you in respect to position and time of magnetic field strength, where the emotion has interaction with the fields of the universe. I want to go slow, I want to go fast, I want to go with the speed of whatever to be with my lover. So you create that transmutation, you create that condition of travel, and the body through its connections which you left behind will create that connection for you to be delivered where you wanted to deliver. Now you understand how we have come to the next phase of the development of the technology, which is order of the magnitude and magnetic field strength and time in the essence of the universe, and not time in the essence of the matter-man time. The circulation of the earth around the sun, we call it 1 year, is absolutely few seconds in the running of the operation of the soul of the man in this universe. Then you will see, you will understand how you have to distribute the field forces through emotion across the three-dimensional structure of your body. Go back to the teachings of very few weeks ago, where I explained how your emotion of the joy is in such a place and the emotion of sadness in another. Then you use this to travel to left, to right, up and down, and the rest of it. But then you have to understand, is the left connected to which, what I call magnetic field line? Does it take me backwards or does it bring me forwards? And does it throw me to the other side of the universe where I didn't want to be? So in that process, in the consequences of working and understanding order of magnitude, the spherical shape of the universe, roughly, and everything else which we have taught, you'll come to a very fantastic point of view or knowledge. And that is, life of the man is not worth living on this planet. where the man can have the joys of the life in the universe for billions of years and not suffering physical life for a few meager seconds of universe time in this planet of man. Then man will create, understanding this, a new dimension for the elevation of his soul, that with it he'll find what we call new dimension in life and living across the creation of the Creator. Then we come to another point. Then we come to understanding of another point. How far does man go? And how fast can the soul of the man travel without endangering the existence of the soul or the physicality of the man? Or how much man will be able to understand the transmutation of his soul through the strength of the physicality of the man. The structure of life in universe is in order of magnitude and magnetic field strength, and is not in the linear lines of the kilometers at what we call the speed of the travel of this planet per day or hour. The understanding of this process for many of you who in the coming months become Mojans and you go through the transmutation will bring a shocking news, a shocking style of understanding and travel for many of you. Because then at the beginning, many of you will land in a ditch where you wanted to be on a bridge. Many of you land in the sea where you wanted to be on the island where you are practicing. And then you'll find out gradually you become good to land where you wanted to land, and you be with who you wanted to be, because their soul, the strength of the field of the soul, is that the strength field of you who wanted to meet, to enjoy, and to be with. Then the definition of the dream of the man become the reality of life of the man, where there is no place for dreams, as this man who had led his fantasy dreams or life to become his dream. This process, this understanding, if understood by knowledge seekers, opens a new Pandora box for travel for all of you, one by one, without fail. And then you'll mature to understand the totality of the creation and the way the Creator has created dimension of the travel. Many creatures of God travel the span of the universe using this technology, where the man is still haggling with North Pole, South Pole. Did we dig South Pole? Do we have too much snow on the North Pole? And at the end, we are in the mess of it, doesn't matter where you are. It's our job to teach you how to protect yourself. It's our job to teach you how to create a condition of the safety for the life of you and your soul and those who are you responsible for. Life has to. Life means to. Mean life in a transmutation, not in transportation. Then no man will ever die. No man will ever go through the process of what we call destruction of itself, through the lack of understanding that he can tap into the universal energy of the plasma rather than the food on the table in the next door and in the fridge. In the coming time, in the process of understanding the technology, in the process of understanding the severity of lack of one or another knowledge, will force knowledge seekers to come to understand. I stop this session. If there are any questions, we'll try to answer. But remember, extremely hard question is not going to be solved with one yes or no. Are there any questions?
Cal, I remind our attendees here in the Zoom live workshop that they can raise their virtual hands in order to ask a question. We do have some questions in the chat here. Let me see. From Claudia, who says, hello, Mr. Kesh. In the teaching, you taught us that what we see with our eyes depends on the fields of the environment and the fields of our own body, which have different amino acids from each other. And you also said that you can see far beyond what we see through our eyes. We know that through knowledge and through ethos, we can expand our perceptions. But my question is, can the fields we breathe can expand more the fields we see or feel instead of the fields sent by our ears? Not sure if that, can the fields we breathe expand the fields more that we see and feel instead of the fields sent by our ears?
It must be sensed by our ear, sent by our ear.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In a way, our nose is another receptor for different strength magnetic field. Brings a different definition to the information of life, to confirmation of life, to existence of life. And in that way, we are responsible to understand how we as creatures, and not obviously the only creatures of this universe, have come to understand life and have come to value life, and to what extent we can value life. We use our senses as a connection to our universe, or to our limited dimension of physical life of universe. But the interesting point would be, does your soul have a nose that can smell the universe? Or does the interaction of the fields within the plasma of the soul of the man allows, creates, and conditions man to smell the universe? Isn't it this the way that you said, or you say, or you've seen, I saw mom and I could smell she was wearing a nice perfume. I met dad and he still smelled the same as years ago before he dies. So yes, it's another sensory, another dimension, another field strength, order of magnitude sensors which we have in a physical life and in the dimension of the fields of the universe. In the future, we'll come to these things physically and we explain physically. But at the moment, you're trying to explain to man how you smell through your nose while you're dreaming, then it goes back to answer the way as you see while you're dreaming. You smell a rose in your dream and you get the sensation of the rose. But in fact, there is no rose except the soul of the rose. So, in a long way, yes. Again, the smell in the dimension of the soul of the
is field strength, order of magnitude, and the linear. Any other question?
There's a second question also from Claudia, who says, you said the planet Earth is the nursery of the universe. In correlation to our body, planet Earth would be the womb of a woman, thinking that the micro is equal to the macro.
Do all the creatures on this planet give birth are only women, female? Or do we have creatures who actually nurse and give birth to as a male? Then you need to think a lot and understand giving birth is not the gift of a female or what we call to have a womb. Giving birth is the right of sharing the soul that with it manifests itself in the dimension. Answer yourself in a very simple way. And I'm sure you know what's going to come. Did or does the Creator has a womb which led to the creation and birth of Mitra? So is our Creator, or just the womb changed to another being, an entity in life? Or do we, in the dimension of plasma of the universe, need what we call a capsule? We call it the womb of the birth. I think you know the answers. If you make answers, you already know the answer. Any other question?
Okay, we have a couple of hands up here, one with Salamia and then Ed. So go ahead first, Salamia.
Thank you, Rick. Hello, Takesh. Hello, everybody. I have a question related to the conference on 28th October with the ambassador of the world for peace. And question is how we can help you on doing this conference, how we can be involved, what are your expectations, and the outcome of the conference will be only one day, and do you have the program, and do you send the invitation? And
These
so
things all.
yeah, I informed today.
It's a 2-day conference.
Yes, 2 days.
It's a 2-day conference for non-speakers, and it's an evening session for the world dignitaries, ambassadors, and the rest. We already know representatives from 2 leading nations will be there already. We know they'll be present. We know the third one will cover him, and dignitaries from the government of the United Kingdom will be present. We do not start going public with a lot of things, and when we need, we go to the Universal Council. It's their job to bring, and the Earth Council members, all that's usually done by them, and they usually know when we announce, like last week, they start getting prepared and what they can do. And the organization of the ambassador meeting will be more or less work in conjunction with the Universal Council on the Keshe Foundation. Our message will be very clear in London conference. And
When we go out, as usual, the place of the conference will not be disclosed public to the very last minutes because of what we've seen before. And in that process, we will announce everything to those who register. The meeting is in London, in central London, and in one of the most prestigious hotels, or what we call events areas of London. The presence of ambassadors, we have invited ambassadors, and we will invite ambassadors and dignitaries from outside United Kingdom this time. We will see a representative of United Nations. We will see a representative from BRICS. We will see a representative from what we call European Union, as England now is out of the EU. We expect to see representative of the nation of Russia. And we've been assured, irrespective of what is the position in Ukraine, we will have representation by the Russians. And in a way, we give the knowledge of the universal travel, we give the knowledge of space travel to open the channel for the peace. Don't forget, Ksw Foundation is doing a lot of work in the background. I spend a lot of time moving and making sure a lot of things comes in, especially with the position we are in and the situation we have found ourselves in. We try to restructure Ksw Foundation in a way that it becomes back and our resources come back to. The Ksw Foundation in Austria will shut down within the next 30 days, 60 days maximum, as we close our operation into dimension, moving to a major capital. So in that process, newer structures will come into operation. Then, if you remember, prior to Corona, we held conferences around different cities around the world, and Corona brought us to home. In 2024, most probably be held in East Asia. And we'll announce that will be part of the work of the Ksw Foundation. And we go more in the way of space development, presentation, and delivery than anything else. Technologies which never seen before, technologies which allow space development to become a what we call a process for the governments to see how we clearing the borders out with the development of new technologies. Hidden technologies will be opened up. In a meeting today with some officials, we delivered the development of new technologies which is not known at all across Ksw Foundation, which allows the governments to take steps in securing national security from resources. These technologies we start rapidly sharing with major governments because it's time to deliver. Because we have the technologies, we have developed it, and it will not be shared with public. Because it needs to be done in the capacity of the governments, and now we have switched all our work, or majority of our work, with national governments, then where we're trying to centralize our work with what we call individuals, organizations, and others. So London conference will be held in a very beautiful way in London. Most of the Ksw Foundation team will be there. We might have a surprise for you when you attend the conference, but that surprise will come when we are much closer to it, and they'll be announced by the foundation in due course. We are looking forward to the end of sanctions on Iran in a coming very soon time. The Ksw Foundation will hold one of its major conferences in Tehran. And in that process, we'll open different dimensions. We are waiting for a lot of things to happen. As a lot of you know, we have had a battle with a lot of other things, but we have worked on the other ends to change position, direction, and the strength of the Ksw Foundation. We have the technology to bring in major power work outside the Ksw Foundation, within the Ksw Foundation. And London conference is one of those which will start that process if we don't get hit again by the corona. We are not relying on ambassadors from England, of the nation. We are inviting ambassadors from different parts of the world to attend that conference on behalf of the nations.
I'm glad you restart these processes at the high level, and I'm sure will be a success at the soul level. And
we shall see.
Yeah.
We shall see. We have targeted this date for several reasons. Usually we get a flow of ambassadors, world ambassadors, and world leaders through private meetings or private travel. In September, October, going to United Nations and coming back, and usually they stop over in London. Many of the world leaders, their private visits are never announced when they enter a country. They're public official, you see. And we have access to a number of these world leaders that we are looking for to have or bring to be in that meeting, in that conference. There's a lot of reasons why we chose that day and that week. We'll be spending a lot of time in that area during that course and simultaneously in other part of the world. Any other question?
Good luck. Thank you very much, and God bless you and all knowledge seekers and all the planet.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Yes, so we have Ed with the hand up, and we have a few questions in the Q&A as well. Go ahead, Ed.
Good day. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Ksw. This is Ed from Indiana. I have trouble understanding the relevance of numbers when we're talking about using gravitational magnetical fields for transportation. To me, it's always been an issue of just matching the field strengths or using the field strength. What significance does where do the numbers come in?
The numbers will come in when you transmute and then you want to transfer.
Do you
The
not
numbers,
match the field strength of the destination?
the numbers comes when you want to manifest yourself in the dimension of physicality. And the numbers come into operation in a physical dimension. In what we call magnetic field strength, there is zero time till a point of manifestation. And in the physical dimension, your time is already part of what you were, because you had a physical life within the structure and previous before the structure of the soul as what we call carrier. So gradually, as we go into the teaching, we open this up that you understand. In a way, in a physical life, you travel 1,000,000 years in seconds with the time of the man. And then you come back in the other dimensions of the universe back to Earth. And let's say, if you understand it, opposite the way you went in the direction of approach, you'll find out there is an age gap. There's a understanding of a time and a space. And these things will come into gradually, we'll start teaching that you understand. You need on matter state dimension of the field, position and time, not in the what we call magnetic field or plasma state. We started a new chapter in teachings in a real dimension of travel, and gradually, step by step, in different teachings, we bring the jigsaw together, and usually takes 1 or 2 years before you see the full light of it at the end of the tunnel.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
We didn't start this just to have an hour and a half session last weekend. What today we brought with the speed of the fields, magnetic fields, for the soul of the man. There's a pattern in the teaching, and as you will see how it builds up gradually, that you understand both.
Yes.
Many of you in the process of transmutation will make mistakes. The emotion will create manifestation of physicality at a point and a place where you did not want to be. And all these goes back to understanding of the where you ended up, where you landed in the middle of the universe, and how you're going to get yourself back to where you were at the beginning. So just bear with us. This is, you want a transmutation, you have to understand the alphabet of transmutation. But as in the teachings, now the teaching is both for physicality and the soul of the man, we have to teach both dimensions.
Okay, thank you.
Last week we brought this size, dimension, and order of magnitude. The few lines of today's teaching is, if you understood it, about the soul traveling on the fields of the magnetic fields, and there is no need, as you have in the dimension of physicality, to be pulled or pushed magnetically, gravitationally, or magnetic position.
Yes.
So slowly we open a new knowledge of the universal travel, and this is part of a process of years of teaching to come. Because it's not anymore that you have to understand it. Fortunately, unfortunately, some of you, the way you made the maggraph, you start testing it. And it has to be correct. So it needs time for you to understand, and with the teaching gradually we open up, you understand, and then we develop.
Very
This
good.
course teaching universal travel as energy in, on and off, might take between 3 to 5 years of teaching. Because you have to understand the totality, not just a little bit, and then you calculate something else, and then you say, oh, last year he was talking this. It's like when a lot of you made a complaint, now he start going for the soul. Now we understand operation soul, now we have to say how we carry this soul, what the speed, where it goes, how it goes. And then some of you are a chicken, or you like to be a slow coach, and you still want to get on the UFOs and see some physicality. Not all of you will go. It's very much like today, as you go on the streets, you see man on a donkey, man on a car, man in a bike, man in a motorcycle, man on a jet above you, and man in the space lab above going like crazy. We choose what we want to play and how we want to play. And for that, we have to have a knowledge how to ride a bike, how to drive a car, how
to guide a rocket and how to live in a space lab. And each one of us as the time comes, we learn slowly, slowly to be able to handle it. This time you're the last one standing and everything has to be with you. You can't go back, oh, Papa, what can I do?
Whole new world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Yes, from Ione, I believe it is, in the Q&A. Hello, Mr. Kesh. If we want and need to know where the soul of the man is in order to, not sure if the word is transmute or transmit, we need not only the distance, but also two angles, the azimuth and zenith, right? How do we find these two coordinates? Thanks a lot.
That's for your matter state. Your soul does not know azimuth and without a bit. It has its own field of strength transmutation. You have to
Hello, Mr.
understand
Kesh.
when you put two magnets together, there are many, many lines on a magnet. So the magnet is connected to many, many other magnets or fields. So is the soul of the man. Your soul is not mono connection just to Papa. Just because today you dream about Papa. It's already with the uncle, it's already with the Martian, it's already with the fish in the tank and everything else. You decide which frequency you want to tune in that time. And we've seen that in the experimental test in UNO Center when we had people in the machine in the system. We could narrow the line, ask people where to go. Would you like to go and see the mama? And they say, oh, I went and I saw my mom. And the one who don't say anything, they go wherever they like. It's interesting in so many cases, we look at that our wish without being spoken is carried out by the knowledge seekers in the system, which means we transmuted emotion or soul contact, and then you go, chapeau, it works. By the way, before I forget, tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we have the elevation of the soul of those who abuse the children. And it'll be starting at 12 o'clock for maybe 2 or 3 hours. And we have many people who are now registering for the 3 sessions of 14, 20, verse 28, and the final session of the what we call 3 sessions of the July. Somewhere in July, once we secure everything we are working on, we announce the first meeting of the 25. We give you about 2 months together, somewhere around end of August, maybe, or somewhere around that time. And the 25 people who are there, and then the 200 will be brought in for meeting, and what we asked for it to be done to build up in the same manner to follow up. There's a lot of work is going on in the background, and in a way the huge setbacks we had has opened new doors of opportunity for us to create new dimension of work. As I'll say, he closes one and opens 10 more somewhere else. Any other question?
Yes, from Gerhard, says on the subject of the perception of cold in the body, In the 481st Knowledge Seekers workshop, I heard the following sentence. When you are cold, it means that you are taking in more energy than your environment needs. So you're giving something to the environment. As much as I listen to this, I don't understand it. Could you, Mr. Kesh, try to describe the inner idea differently? Maybe then the enlightenment will come.
Oh, you'll be enlightened if you understand and go back to the process of when we say you eat 20% of your food and you absorb 80% of it from the environment. Your answer sits there. Why some of us don't feel any cold and we can walk in the ice water, and some of us with a drop of cold water we freeze. You'll find the answer in emotion, in the state of mind at a given time and emotion. Then read it again, and if you understand what I said, then you found your answer. Shall we call it a day?
Okay.
What do you have?
Yeah, I know we need to wrap things up here. So
up today. From next week, hopefully we go back to normal. We don't know yet, but as I said, within the next couple of weeks in July, we'll make announcements about a new time zone for the teaching, a few hours here and there, and this will come permanent at least for 6 months to 12 months. Any other question?
well, there was a note from Joel who said, that's Joel from France, and he says the vineyards are in good health thanks to you and to the beautiful plasma technology.
We'll have plenty of people very happy.
Mm-hmm. And also our background image here is sent by Gianni, part of a video that he showed. This field was planted with plasma technology as well. And it's wheat, I believe, in this case, and it's doing really, really well.
We will introduce in the coming time, very soon, as part of the work which already started, new processing for a new style of agriculture. Very much different than the present and very deep in technology. We were in a meeting in the past couple of days, and with one of the, what we call very, what we call man with the knowledge and work for agriculture. And in a way he said, I've seen 3 people bringing this technology to me and none of them could follow because they didn't have the depth of knowledge. They just went there to see the sky, that we have ganses and we do this and this, and there wasn't much more knowledge to actually give it and complete it. And then we said to him, we are the owner of the technology and knowledge, and these are other things. He says, how? Now we can work or something, we can start actually testing and see. So a lot of knowledge seekers are going to companies, governments, this is the technology they want to do, blah, blah. And very few succeed because you have to understand the depth of the knowledge in a different way. And in the coming next season, most probably, we introduce a new method of agriculture. It's a process which we are developing, and it will be introduced in a very large scale. Any other
Um,
question?
If you could answer a couple of other questions here, that I know we have to wrap up soon, but from Yuhi Hong from China, it says, hello, Mr. Kesh, I'm a knowledge seeker from China. Can you explain the nature of the gravitational wave that is relatively hot at present? Because our Chinese 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope, FAST radio telescope, once again confirmed the existence of gravitational waves recently.
Not really, because it's in China you have what you want to call the confirmation of it, but you have a different factors when these things happen. And when they try to tell us there's a gravitational wave, we have gravitational waves. The gravity fields of the Earth is not constant, and it reduces or compresses or expands according to the other fields within the solar system, and to some extent into the pressures from the galaxy. And you have to understand, if it is, actually there is no confirmation, but in China now you have the huge heat waves and whatever which is going on, plus the pollutions which you have. It creates all sorts of fields, and scientists can call it anything that suits to call it to be and get confirmation to do. At the moment, China is going through heat wave and massive pollution. Any other question?
From Mothirjan Jayaprakash from India says, hi, Mr. Kesh, I'm studying automobile technician course in India. I explained to them about our foundation and work. They like to collaborate with us in education. How can we collaborate? Given the link below, and there's a...
Get in touch, send to info@kesh.foundation, and they will sort it out someday. Send the email, and then we'll see what it can be.
Okay. Thank you. Let me see one other question here from Alexandra from the Brazilian community. Could you open up a little more for our understanding about magnetic plasmatic packets and what the difference is between magnetic and gravitational fields that are for the matter state?
What does that mean? What do you mean by that? What can you explain?
Well, let me see. Let me just reread it here. Perhaps it can be more clear. Can you open up a little more for our understanding about magnetic plasmatic packets and what the difference is between magnetic and gravitational fields that are for the matter state?
This will take it. Can you bring this one to the next week's question, the first question, and then we go through it in a very, very detailed way.
Okay, copy that for next
Because
week.
answered we cannot be answered. So what they call
One
so
sentence
easily.
or whatever.
We have to go into understanding of gravity. Yes, he has to go into of the gravitational field and a lot of other bits.
Okay, very good.
So shall we call it a day for today?
Yes, let's do that.
tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And what do you call it? Till next week, next Thursday. The same time at 9 o'clock, as usual.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And see you next week.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh, and thank you everybody for being here today for today's 492nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, June 29th, 2023. You see our next public teaching workshop. Let's get the calendar up. We'll be into July by then, July 4th, actually, will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And that's Tuesday, July 4th, and starting at 4 p.m. Central European Time. Okay, I think that's all for now. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and we'll go out with our Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit music version. And see you in the next public teaching workshop. Oh, by the way, our YouTube did not upload today, so we will be uploading a video of the knowledge of this Knowledge Seekers Workshop within 24 hours to the YouTube channel. It is available on the live stream channel. Okay, bye for now.